Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Taylor's thoughts return to how it all started. Not with violence, but with a subtle betrayal. Taylor had been the poised psychiatrist in the luxurious halls of the bold and the beautiful world, mending hearts broken by Ridge Forrester's uncertainty for years. She had loved him intensely and nurtured his children, as well as Brooke's children, in a complex family knot, only to see him slip away time and again to that scheming blonde siren, Brooke Logan. What about Sheila? Sheila was the wild card, a crazed figure who had forced her way into their lives with a gun in one hand and a false identity in the other. It began innocently enough, Taylor told herself in the quiet nights when sleep eluded her. Sheila had returned to Los Angeles after faking her death and rebranded herself as Sugar, a mousy nurse with a fondness for drugs and dark secrets. Taylor, the ever-present healer, had taken pity on her during a hospital treatment session. "You're broken," Taylor murmured softly, her voice full of professional pity. "But everyone deserves a second chance." Little did she know, Sheila's cracks were deeper than any scalpel could reach, fueled by desertion, rejection, and a burning resentment for the Logans and Forresters who had repeatedly rejected her claims to Deacon Sharp and others. As the weeks grew into months, Sheila's recovery unraveled. She began following Taylor, leaving anonymous messages in her office that said, "You think you know pain? I invented it." Taylor disregarded them as paranoia, a side effect of her own failing marriage to Ridge, who had returned to Brooke after a public affair. However, the notes became more intense. Dead flowers on her porch, murmurs in the night, and a shadow outside Steffi's window. Taylor's daughter, Steffi, the fiery heiress of Forrester Creations, was the first to notice the threat. "Mom, this isn't right," Steffi warned, her eyes wide with the same awareness that had kept her safe from Finn's deception. Finn, Sheila's kid, inadvertently serves as a bridge between the realms of normalcy and crazy. Sheila struck one fateful evening while attending a high society banquet on the Forrester rooftop. She disguised herself as a caterer and placed a sedative into Taylor's champagne glass. Taylor awoke in the mansion's depths, chained to a chair in the wine cellar, where Eric Forrester had previously buried his darkest intentions. Sheila stood over her, removing the phony wig to show her wounded face, the result of failed plastic surgery that reflected her soul's devastation. "You forgave me once, Doctor," Sheila snarled, her voice caustic. "But you judged me. You all judged me. Ridge, Brooke, and Steffi, they took everything. Now I'll take you." Taylor's pleadings rang through the empty halls that night. "Sheila, please. We're both victims of this family's curse. Ridge tore us apart. Let me help you one last time." But Sheila's laughter was a frightening symphony, recalling her litany of grievances, murdering Steffi, kidnapping Finn, and the never-ending cycle of rejection. In her psychosis, Sheila saw Taylor as a mirror, a woman who, like her, had lost children, loves, and her sanity in the Logan Forrester battles. Taylor's mind became fragmented with memories as the hours passed. She recalled her own dark days, the alcoholism that gripped her after losing Ridge, the romance with Deacon that nearly ruined her, the agony of witnessing Hope and Liam's toxic tango while her own life remained unresolved. In an act of twisted solidarity, Sheila freed her, forcing Taylor to confront a concealed compartment in the cellar wall. Inside life photos, doctored images of Taylor confessing to murders she did not commit, as well as evidence planted to blame her for Sheila's crimes. "You beg for life, but death is mercy," Sheila said, holding a knife to Taylor's throat. Taylor's tears came easily, not only for herself, but for the distinct melancholy that bonded them. Two women, builders of their own demise, entangled in a web of obsession. Taylor murmured about repentance and therapy sessions to help Sheila return her son Finn, but Sheila's eyes clouded. "Finn is mine. You stole him with your lies." The struggle that followed was fierce, a desperate dance on the cellar stairs. Taylor pulled free, running for the mansion's enormous library, where bookshelves housed the family's secrets, ledgers of betrayals and tear-stained love letters. Sheila pursued, her footfall echoing a loud heartbeat. Taylor had buried herself behind a hefty oak door, her breath ragged. "Forgive me, Sheila, for judging you, for not seeing your pains sooner." Her wail pierced the night, a singular plea born of shared grief. But forgiveness was Sheila's poison. She kicked the door down, her face distorted with wrath. Taylor grabbed a letter opener during the scuffle to defend himself, not to kill. The sword grazed Sheila's arm, causing blood to mix with tears on the Persian carpeting. Sheila faltered for a brief moment, her eyes softening as she recognized her own reflection in Taylor's anxiety. "We're the same," she exclaimed. "Monsters in silk." Dawn broke as sirens wailed in the distance. Steffi had tracked Taylor's phone and alerted the cops. Sheila retreated into the darkness, leaving Taylor sprawled in the debris, whispering, "Please don't kill me," to the empty air. Taylor, rescued but devastated, checked into treatment, her particular sad narrative engraved in scars. The conclusion that mercy was the most rare thread in the bold and the beautiful tapestry. However, the narrative did not finish there. Months later, Taylor resurfaced as a ghost of her former self, testifying against Sheila in a courtroom drama that captivated Los Angeles. Sheila, captured and unrepentant, grinned at the defendant's table. "You begged, doctor, but I spared you for now." The judge's gavel fell, but Taylor knew the cycle would continue. In quiet moments, she wrote a memoir called Shadows of Begging, which detailed not just the horror, but also the profound melancholy of unacknowledged humanity in a foe. Taylor's life after trauma was a mix of healing and haunting. She reconciled with Ridge, only to discover that his love was tainted by remorse. Steffi gave birth to a baby, whom she named after Taylor's tenacity, but shadows lingered. Nanny cams caught fleeting glances of Sheila's followers. Taylor established a charity for abuse survivors, and her remarks were infused with the raw genuineness of someone who had begged for life. "Forgiveness isn't weakness," she said, her voice shaking. "It's the light in our unique darkness." Years later, on a stormy night, Taylor got a package, a solitary wilted rose with a note. "I forgave you by letting you live. Now beg no more." Sheila was free, paroled on technicalities, her reputation lasting. Taylor did not cry. Instead, her sorrowful narrative shone brightly. Finally, the cry, "Please don't kill me," became a monument to survival, a one-of-a-kind story of two women's connected anguish amidst the splendor of endless feuds. The room was dim and filled with silence. The low hum of the refrigerator in the corner was all that remained to fill the area where two ladies stood staring at each other, one shivering and the other unreadable. The night outside was heavy with rain, and every drop on the window sounded like time was running out. Taylor's hands shook as she grasped the edge of the counter, her knuckles whitening and her chest heaving with a breath that seemed to never come again. She could see it in Sheila's eyes, a frigid, fragmented reflection of everything that had gone wrong between them, everything that had broken long before the night began. "Sheila, please," Taylor said quietly, her voice shaking under the weight of her anxiety. "You don't need to do this. You don't want to do this." Sheila's expression remained unchanged. She stood there with the gun in her hand, the barrel trembling slightly, not from weakness, but from suppressed emotion that had only recently erupted, on the verge of violence. "I don't want to," Sheila replied gently. "But you made me. All of you did. You stared at me as if I were something to be repaired, something broken. Taylor, you took everything from me. Everything." Taylor's eyes welled up with tears, which burned before falling. "Do you think I haven't suffered too? Do you think I wanted this? I tried to help you, Sheila. I tried to believe there was something left inside you worth saving." Sheila laughed, a short, bitter sound that didn't fit in her throat. "Can you help me? You never helped me. You were rescuing yourself. Save your perfect little family from the monster." The word monster hung in the air like fog. Taylor took a hesitant stride forward. "Nobody is a monster, Sheila. You are injured. You've been hurt for so long that you've forgotten what love is like. Sheila's palm tightened around the revolver. Do not talk to me about love. Don't pretend you understand. But Taylor did, or wanted to. The therapist in her wanted to reach out and peel back the layers of grief. To rediscover the girl Sheila was before the world changed her. But her mother, the human in her, was afraid. Please don't kill me, Taylor whispered. Please. She couldn't stop herself from saying it. They were raw, trembling, and deprived of any dignity. It was not a plea from a doctor or a rational lady. Rather, it was a plea from someone who had looked into death's eyes and seen herself mirrored there. Sheila's lips quivered. For a brief time, the mask crumbled, and something delicate flared in her expression: grief, regret, perhaps even humiliation. You don't get it, Sheila remarked, her voice wavering. I've lost everything due of you. Finn and Hayes represented a fresh start for me. My chance to become something better. And you took that from me when you tried to make me disappear. Taylor's tears flowed freely now. Sheila, you shot me once. You almost killed me. But I have forgiven you. Do you get that? I forgive you because I could see the pain in your eyes. I saw someone who wanted to be loved, not afraid. Sheila turned aside, blinking quickly. Forgiveness doesn't fix what's broken. No, Taylor answered, leaning closer, but it's the only way to stop breaking more. Outside, the rain poured harder, pounding against the glass like desperate hands. The room felt smaller, like if the walls were closing in on them. Taylor could see her own reflection in the window, pale, desperate, and alive. She had no idea how long. Sheila, she replied softly, you don't need to do this to prove anything. You don't have to destroy what's left of yourself. Sheila returned her gaze, her cheeks shaking as she struggled to contain her rage. You speak as if it were easy. Like forgiveness is just a choice you make before breakfast. It isn't simple, Taylor admitted. It's the toughest thing in the world. But I'm standing here, imploring you to let go before it's too late. Sheila took a time to lower the rifle. The sound of rain broke the silence between them, and Taylor nearly dared to hope. But then Sheila's expression darkened again. Is it too late? She repeated. It's already too late. Taylor took another cautious, deliberate stride, her gaze fixed on Sheila's. It is not. You can still put down the pistol. You can still walk away. We can discuss, Sheila. You may tell me anything, the fury, the pain, the hatred, and I'll listen. Sheila's voice broke into sobs. Talking doesn't make up for what I've lost. Taylor paused. Perhaps not. But it can keep you from losing what you have left. There was a lengthy stillness thereafter, the kind that goes beyond time and reason. Taylor could hear her heartbeat. She could feel her own pulse in her throat. Every second represented a coin flip between life and death. And then the unexpected happened. Sheila's grasp weakened. Her arm shook uncontrollably as she held the gun. A tear slipped down her cheek. I don't want to do this, she muttered. Taylor approached gently, her hands up. Then don't. I hate you, Sheila murmured, but the words were empty and frail. Taylor's voice trembled as she said, I hate what you made me become. Then hate me. But do not murder me. Don't kill yourself. For a brief while, the storm outside subsided, or perhaps it was just the silence within that had become too loud to hear anything else. Sheila stared at Taylor, her eyes hot and unfocused, her entire body trembling. Do you know what it's like, Sheila asked, to wake up every day feeling like you were born wrong? As if you were supposed to wreck everything you touched? Taylor swallowed hard. Yes, she replied softly. I do. Sheila's eyes widened, and perplexity washed across her face. You don't know anything about that, Taylor said, barely audible. Sheila, I've made mistakes too. I've hurt folks. I've lived with guilt that consumes me every day. There are nights I can't sleep because of what I've done, the lives I've destroyed in the pursuit of what I thought was right. Sheila lowered the gun another inch. I see the faces of the people I failed, Taylor said, her voice quivering. The folks who believed in me but were ultimately disappointed. I saw my children's sorrow. I see the damage that I've left behind. "You're not the only one drowning in regret," Sheila said, her palms shaking fiercely. The rifle clattered to the ground, its sound crisp and final. Taylor expelled a sob that she had not aware she was holding. She sank to her knees, tears flowing down her cheeks, as did Sheila. For the first time, they were on the same level. Two women, each haunted by their own demons. For a long period, neither spoke. The only sounds were their breathing and the rain easing outside. Then Taylor stretched out, gently and cautiously, and took Sheila's hand. "Sheila," she explained, "forgiveness is not a gift for the other person. It's the key to your own cage." Sheila examined their hands before looking up at Taylor. "Do you believe I can ever be free?" Taylor squeezed her hand. "Not all at once. But you may begin tonight." The storm dissipated outside, leaving just the faint glimpse of dawn peeking through the clouds. The first light hit the kitchen's borders, revealing how fragmented everything was: shattered glass, spilled wine, and the turmoil of what almost happened. But in the midst of it all, two women sat calmly, their hands clasped together and their tears pooling on the tile floor. It was not peaceful. Not yet. However, it was something that could eventually lead to peace. When the police arrived, Taylor told them the truth. Sheila was ready to shoot, but she didn't. That she saw something human in her at the very last second. Sheila did not protest when they took her away. For once, there was no yelling or defiance. She simply turned to Taylor one final time and said, "Thank you." Taylor watched her leave, her heart weary yet alive. She stood near the window as the sun rose higher, letting light wash over her face. She didn't feel relieved. She felt deep and enduring pain, the type that shapes who you are. But beneath that lay something else, weak but genuine: hope. Taylor couldn't sleep for several days thereafter. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Sheila's face, not the monster everyone talked about, but the devastated woman who had nearly made the worst decision of her life. She repeated every word, tear, and breath from that night, looking for meaning. Sometimes, in the early hours of the morning, she wondered if she had truly saved Sheila, or if Sheila had saved her. Taylor felt something burst open inside her at the same time the pistol fell. She realized she had been living with her own weapon all along: guilt, shame, and fear, all pointing inward. And by forgiving Sheila, she had taken the first step towards forgiving herself. Weeks later, she paid Sheila a visit in the prison's infirmary wing. Sheila appeared smaller, older, yet her eyes were clearer. "You came back," Sheila whispered quietly. "I said I would," Taylor answered. They sat quietly for a time before Sheila spoke again. "I still don't think I deserve it, forgiveness, I mean." "None of us really do," Taylor told me. Sheila gazed down, her eyes watering. "Do you believe there is still something decent in me?" Taylor grinned slightly. "I believe there is something human. And that's enough." When Taylor departed, the outside air was cold and peaceful. The world seemed heavier, but not terrible. The storm had passed, but the memories of it, the dread, the pleading, the frail kindness, would haunt her. She wasn't sure if she and Sheila would ever be reconciled, or if forgiveness could mend everything that had been shattered between them. But for the first time in a long time, she decided it was worth a shot. And as she drove home, the dawn broke again, brighter, fuller, and unrelenting, as if it were the start of something neither of them could describe yet. It was the light that appeared after the storm. It was about survival. It was grace.